My daughter and her husband were planning to steal my house. Before entering the bank, in the driveway, my son-in-law Rick pressed a pen into my palm. "Just sign, Mom," he said. His hand rested on my shoulder as if it belonged there. My own daughter sat in the passenger seat, smiling. Later, inside the bank, I folded a small note and slid it across the counter. "Help, not my choice." If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The credit union smelled like lemon cleaner and wet coats. I stood under humming lights. 70 years old, steady on my feet. My daughter angled a clipboard toward me. "Just sign here, Mom," Kate said. Her husband Rick rested 2 fingers on my shoulder. Confident pressure, like steering a car I wasn't driving. I had cataloged IV meds for 30 years. Trauma bays, night shifts. I knew routine from risk. This folder said Family Resilience Platform, LLC. I had never heard those words until that morning. I skimmed the pages. Class A managers Catherine and Richard Whitmore. Capital contribution 2148 Maple Street. My little blue house. My lilac hedge. My home. The teller's name tag said Jenna. Her eyes kept drifting toward me. Then back to the glass office. A silver-haired manager sorted files there. Methodical grace. I recognized it from my nursing days. Sarah Mitchell. That was her name. I slid a pharmacy receipt from my purse. Wrote with my steady hand. "Help, not my choice." The tremor that sometimes visited stayed away. "Good." Kate leaned into her practiced smile for the camera. I inched the slip across the counter. Jenna's lashes flickered. She murmured one moment and disappeared. Sarah emerged, voice warm but edged with policy. "Let's finish in my office," she said. Inside, the door clicked shut. The hum softened. Sarah's eyes were calm. "I need to confirm this is freely chosen," she said. I set the pen down. "It isn't," I told her. Sarah nodded once. Like a chart's ambiguous symptom had declared itself. "Then we pause," she said. She placed her card in my palm. "We'll do this right." I felt something shift, like the first clear breath after pneumonia. Weeks before the bank, little things had begun to drift. The thermostat woke me at dawn. 61 degrees. I remembered setting 70. The porch light blazed through the night. I was certain I had flipped the switch. The pill organizer showed Tuesday's tablets in Friday's slot. "Old houses get tricky," Rick would say. He tapped his phone, toggled the smart switch he had installed to help. Kate arrived on Tuesdays. Mason jar soup. The soft vocabulary of concern. "Simplify," she said. "Streamline. Safe." I kept a nurse's log anyway. Blue ink on yellow pad. Thermostat lowered at 2:13 a.m. Pills rearranged. New envelope, Family Resilience Platform, LLC. At St. Andrews after service, I called legal aid. Church parking lot. David Miller listened without rushing my voice. "You're not imagining it," he said. "Document everything. I'll draft guardrails." That night I set my tea kettle to sing. Read the packet alone. The margins glistened with harmless words. The clauses whispered teeth. Limited voting rights. Manager discretion during exigent events. Exigent. A doctor word. An emergency word. When someone else decides what counts as emergency. My 14-year-old granddaughter Emily texted a photo. Cardboard wind turbine spinning on school lawn. "Even simple designs work," she wrote. "Exactly," I wrote back. I tucked that message into my chest. Like a heat pack on a cold night. David met me at a downtown cafe. Coffee that tasted like promise. He drew a square on legal paper. Revocable trust. Trustee Margaret Thompson. You hold the keys, he said. Another square. Limited powers of attorney. Dormant until I activated them myself. A password phrase. Something no one could guess. Use a word you love, he said. Night shift, I replied. I had survived the worst of them. Sarah added bank flags. In-person changes only. Recording on for unusual conversations. When Kate scheduled another appointment, she brought a stranger. Dr. Linda Grant. Cognitive specialist. Zipped leather portfolio. Just a routine screen, Kate said. Her voice chirped like a smoke detector. Low battery. Dr. Grant asked the year. The president. The difference between checking and savings. I answered plainly. Then she asked what I was signing today. A door with a smiling sign, I said. That leads to my house being collateral. They call it a platform. Dr. Grant closed her portfolio. Ms. Thompson demonstrates capacity, she said. Rick's jaw set. We're paying you to be thorough, he said. I just was, Dr. Grant replied. She left. The room felt ventilated. On a wet Sunday, my phone pulsed. Attempted HELOC draw. $50,000. Description. Platform capitalization. Sarah called within minutes. Flags tripped, she said. We've frozen it. I'm filing an internal escalation. David followed. Emergency petition first thing Monday. In Judge Sanchez's courtroom, my yellow pad lay beside typed affidavits. The thermostat logs. Pill organizer photos. Sarah's notes. A narrative assembled like trauma code. Assess. Prioritize. Intervene. Temporary protective order granted, the judge said. The gavel landed like closure on a wound. Back at the bank, Rick spoke in market syllables. Liquidity. Timeline. Fiduciary. To the small red light of Sarah's recorder. Kate toggled between contrition and insistence. I did not raise my voice. You tried to move money at midnight, I said. From a house I paid for in daylight. Silence settled. Unglamorous and decisive. The order stood. I walked home by the long route. Past yards where lilacs had started their quiet riot. Purple against gray sky. I paused at my mailbox. Then kept going. Inside, I brewed tea. When the kettle clicked, I let it. I switched the porch light on and off. Simple thrill, then left it dark. I wanted the stars. Not a victory parade. Not a family reunion. Just a careful ledger balanced at last. What was given? What was taken? What would never be moved without my yes? I touched the edge of my yellow pad. New page. New note. Today chose my own light. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Weeks before the bank, little things had begun to slip. The thermostat woke me at dawn. 61 degrees when I remembered setting 70. The porch light blazed all night. I was certain I had turned it off. My pill organizer told lies. Tuesday's tablets sitting in Friday's slot. White lies with blue caps. Rick would tap his phone when I mentioned it. Old houses get tricky, he said. His voice smooth like clinic waiting rooms. He had installed smart switches to help me. Smart switches that made me feel stupid. Kate arrived every Tuesday with mason jar soup. Steam rising like incense. Her vocabulary soft and careful. Words like streamline and simplify. Safe. Safe meant small. I knew that now. I kept a nurse's log anyway. Blue ink on yellow paper. The way I used to chart vitals. Thermostat lowered at 2:13 a.m. Pills rearranged between Sunday and Monday. New envelopes slipped under my door. Family Resilience Platform, LLC. Big words for small theft. After church on Sunday, I called legal aid. St. Andrew's parking lot smelled like rain on hot asphalt. David Miller answered on the third ring. His voice steady like good bones. "You're not imagining it," he told me. "Document everything. I'll draft some guardrails." Guardrails. Like the ones that keep cars from falling off cliffs. That evening I set my tea kettle to sing. Read the packet alone at my kitchen table. The margins looked clean. Harmless words in lawyer fonts. But the clauses had teeth. Limited voting rights, it said. Manager discretion during exigent events. Exigent. A doctor word meaning someone else decides the emergency. Someone else decides when I can't decide. My granddaughter Emily texted me a picture that night. Her cardboard wind turbine spinning on the school lawn. "Even simple designs work," she had written underneath. "Exactly," I texted back. I held that message against my chest. Like a heating pad on arthritis mornings. The house felt different after that. Watching me. The smart thermostat with its blue eye. The cameras Rick said were for security. Security from what, I wondered. From me? I started testing things. Set the thermostat to 75 before bed. Woke to 68. Turned off the porch light twice. Found it burning at midnight. My pill organizer became a puzzle box. Wednesday's heart medication wandering to Sunday. Thursday's vitamins visiting Tuesday. Someone was playing games with my chemistry. But who watches the watchers? I did. Yellow pad filling with timestamps. Blue ink telling truth in a house full of lies. The grocery store clerk looked at me strangely when I bought 3 notebooks. Cash only. As if buying notebooks was suspicious. As if keeping track was the crime. Kate called Wednesday evening. Her voice had that edge it gets when she's managing me. "We need to talk about your living situation," she said. My living situation was living. Her living situation was planning my death. Thursday morning brought another envelope. This one thick and official. Legal papers with ribbons and seals. Transfer documents for my house. My signature already printed where I should sign. They had typed my name in elegant script. Margaret Thompson. As if I were already a ghost. I called David again. From the church parking lot where cell towers couldn't betray me. The papers rustled in my lap like dry leaves. "Bring everything," he said. "We meet tomorrow." That night I couldn't sleep. The house whispered around me. Settling timber. Shifting foundation. Or footsteps. I couldn't tell anymore. The blue eye of the thermostat watched me from the hallway. Blinking like a sleepy conscience. I covered it with electrical tape. Black square over blue light. The house went quiet after that. Friday came gray and determined. I dressed in my navy pantsuit. The one I wore to board meetings when I was head nurse. Armor disguised as respectability. David's office smelled like coffee and righteous anger. He spread my yellow pages across his desk. Evidence laid out like trauma bay instruments. Clean. Organized. Deadly serious. "This is financial elder abuse," he said. "Textbook case." I nodded. I had read that textbook. In nursing school. In ethics classes. In real life, it looked different. It looked like family. "We can stop this," David continued. "But we need to move fast." Fast meant court. Court meant family photos in legal briefs. Kate's school counselor credentials. Rick's community involvement. Their wholesome manipulation dressed up for judges. I thought about Emily's wind turbine. Simple design, clear purpose, no hidden mechanisms. Do it, I told David. File whatever needs filing. His smile was small but genuine. Like the first daffodil after winter. Hope disguised as paperwork. I drove home through neighborhoods where other old people lived behind smart locks. Their children managing their thermostats from across town. Their pills organized by strangers. Their choices narrowing like arteries. At my mailbox I found another envelope. This one hand addressed in Kate's careful script. The return address was a law firm I didn't recognize. Inside, custody papers. Not for children. For me. The papers claimed I was incapacitated. Unsafe. Unable to manage my affairs. They listed my forgetfulness. My confusion about modern technology. My resistance to helpful changes. My resistance. As if fighting back was proof of incompetence. I sat in my kitchen with those papers spread before me. The tea kettle quiet on the stove. The smart thermostat covered in tape. The porch light obedient to my switch. For the first time in weeks, everything was exactly where I left it. I picked up my pen. The same pen Rick had pressed into my palm. Blue ink flowing steady as blood. I wrote across the custody papers in large, clear letters. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. My house. My rules. My pen. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. David met me at Rosie's Cafe downtown. Coffee that tasted like promises and burnt hope. He drew squares on legal paper with a pen that clicked like a medical chart. Precise. Deliberate. First square revocable trust. Trustee Margaret Thompson. You hold all the keys, he said. His finger tapped the paper twice. Second square limited powers of attorney. Dormant until I chose to wake them up. Like medications in a locked drawer. Safe until needed. We need a password phrase, David continued. Something only you would know. I thought about night shifts. About codes that saved lives. About words that held power when everything else fell apart. Night shift, I told him. One word. No space between night and shift. Good, he said. Strong word. Hard to guess. His pen moved across the paper like a surgeon's scalpel. Clean lines. Clear purpose. Each signature line marked with yellow sticky notes. Sarah Mitchell met us at the bank that afternoon. Her office smelled like fresh copies and old coffee. She wore reading glasses that caught the fluorescent light. Made her look like someone who counted things twice. We're adding flags to your account, she explained. No changes without you present. Recording device for unusual conversations. Extra time for you to think. Think. As if thinking had become a luxury instead of a right. The paperwork took 2 hours. Sarah's assistant brought us water in paper cups. I signed my name 17 times. Each signature felt like reclaiming territory. That evening Kate called, her voice tight as a blood pressure cuff. We need to discuss your finances, she said. Rick thinks you're making poor decisions. Rick thinks. Not Kate thinks. Rick. I held the phone away from my ear. Her words buzzed like angry wasps. Responsibility and safety and love disguised as management. I hung up while she was explaining my own bank account to me. The house felt different that night. Quieter. Like it was holding its breath. I walked through rooms where I had lived for 37 years. Touched door frames my husband had painted. Ran my fingers across windowsills where I had placed Christmas candles. Mine. Still mine. Tuesday brought Kate to my door with soup and a stranger. Dr. Linda Grant stood on my porch like a well-dressed vulture. Leather portfolio tucked under her arm. Smile practiced in bathroom mirrors. Just a routine screening, Kate explained. Her voice sing-song false. Nothing to worry about. Everything to worry about, I corrected silently. Dr. Grant settled into my living room chair. The good chair where my husband used to read newspapers. She opened her portfolio like a priest opening a Bible. "What year is it?" she asked. 2024, I answered. "Who is the president?" I told her. She wrote something down. "What's the difference between a checking and savings account?" I explained interest rates and liquidity. Used terms from my banking days when I balanced household ledgers by hand. She wrote more notes. Then she asked the real question. "What are you being asked to sign today?" I looked at Kate, my daughter, my own flesh and blood sitting forward like a hunting dog pointing at prey. "A door with a welcome sign," I said. "That leads to my house becoming collateral for other people's dreams. They call it a platform, but platforms are for standing on. This one's for standing over." Dr. Grant closed her portfolio with a soft snap. "Ms. Thompson demonstrates full capacity," she announced. Her voice final as a death certificate. Rick's jaw tightened like a tourniquet. "We're paying you to be thorough," he reminded her. "I was thorough," Dr. Grant replied. She stood to leave. The room felt lighter without her leather portfolio. After they left, I made tea and sat in my husband's chair. The cushion still held his shape after all these years. Still smelled faintly of his aftershave and morning coffee. I opened my yellow pad to a fresh page. Wrote the date in blue ink. Wrote capacity confirmed. Platform rejected. House still mine. The words looked small on the wide page. But small words could hold large truths. Like love. Like no. Like mine. That night I dreamed about hospital corridors. Long hallways with fluorescent lights humming overhead. I walked past rooms where people lay connected to machines. Monitors beeping out heartbeats and hope. In the dream, someone kept trying to unplug the machines. Pulling cords from walls. Silencing alarms. I ran from room to room, plugging things back in. Keeping people connected to life. I woke up understanding. They weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to unplug me. Disconnect me from my own life. Make me dependent on their machines instead of my own heartbeat. But I knew how to read monitors. How to restart hearts. How to fight for life when death came knocking. My phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Text message alert. Unknown number. Attempted HELOC withdrawal. $50,000. Description. Platform capitalization. Transaction denied. $50,000. Half the value of my house. Attempted at midnight when they thought I was sleeping. Sarah called before I could call her. Flags worked, she said. System caught it. Filing internal escalation immediately. David's voicemail followed. Emergency petition first thing Monday morning. Bring everything. Everything. Yellow pad notes. Bank alerts. Custody papers. Dr. Grant's assessment. Evidence of a life worth defending. I dressed in my navy suit again. Armor for another battle. In the bathroom mirror, I practiced my court face. The one I used when doctors questioned my nursing judgment. Calm. Competent. Unbreakable. Judge Sanchez's courtroom smelled like wood polish and nervous sweat. My yellow pad lay beside typed affidavits like a small truth telling a big story. David spread evidence across the table. Thermostat logs. Pill organizer photos. Sarah's incident reports. Midnight withdrawal attempts. A paper trail of predators hunting in my own family. Temporary protective order granted, the judge announced. Her gavel fell like punctuation at the end of a sentence. Period. Full stop. No more stealing. Outside the courthouse, Rick spoke to David in real estate syllables. Liquidity. Fiduciary responsibility. Timeline pressures. Words that sounded important but meant nothing. Kate stood apart, arms crossed like someone guarding secrets. Her face pale as skim milk. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. You tried to withdraw money at midnight, I said. From a house I paid for in daylight. The words hung in courthouse air like smoke from old fires. True. Permanent. Undeniable. Rick's mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. Kate stared at the ground where fallen leaves made patterns like scattered papers. The order stands, David said. His voice solid as courthouse granite. We walked to separate cars in separate silences. They drove away first. Expensive sedan disappearing around the corner like a bad dream at sunrise. I sat in my car until the parking meter expired. Holding the protective order like a prescription for life. Legal medicine for a family disease. At home, I filed the order under important papers. Right behind my marriage certificate and ahead of my mortgage payoff letter. Then I made tea. Real tea in my good china cup. The one with small roses painted around the rim. A cup for celebrations. I had something to celebrate. I was still here. Still mine. Still fighting. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I missed Emily's laugh more than I missed quiet. Missed Jacob's drawings more than I missed peace. 2 weeks since the courthouse. 2 weeks since I had held my grandchildren. Kate controlled the visiting schedule now. Like a nurse rationing pain medication. A little contact. Not too much. Just enough to keep me hoping. I called Emily's cell phone Tuesday evening. She answered on the first ring. Her voice bright as emergency room lights. Nana, she said, I miss you so much it hurts in my chest. I know that hurt, I told her. It sits right behind your ribs like a stone. We made new rules that night. Phone rules. Text rules. Greenway Park rules. Saturday noon, I told Emily. 2 hours. Bring Jacob. Bring his drawings. Mom won't like it, Emily warned. Mothers don't always know what children need, I said. Sometimes grandmothers know better. Saturday came gray and determined. I packed pears in a brown bag. Added crackers and juice boxes. Food for a 2-hour lifetime. Greenway Park stretched green and patient under October sky. Playground empty except for scattered leaves. Picnic tables waiting like old friends. Emily ran toward me across wet grass. 14 years old and still willing to run to grandmother's. I caught her in my arms. Held tight enough to memorize. Jacob crashed into us both. 9 years old and fierce as a small storm. His backpack bulged with crumpled papers. Knights and castles spilling from broken zippers. We ate pears at the picnic table. Sweet juice running down chins like tears of happiness. Emily told me about her science project. Wind turbines made from cardboard and hope. Even simple designs work best, she said. Too many moving parts make things break. Exactly right, I agreed. Simple is stronger. Jacob spread his drawings across wooden planks. Knights guarding castles. Dragons breathing paper fire. Houses with wide front porches and flowers in window boxes. This one's your house, Nana, he said. His finger traced the porch where I sat drinking morning coffee. Best house in the kingdom, I told him. Worth defending. We walked to the pond where ducks paddled in circles. Emily brought breadcrumbs in a plastic bag. Jacob threw them too hard. Ducks scattered like startled thoughts. Gentle, I reminded him. Good things scare easily. At 1:30, Kate and Rick appeared at the path's edge. Standing like sentries at a checkpoint. Watching, waiting, timing our joy. Emily squeezed my hand. Do we have to go already? Rules are rules, I said. But rules can change. Kate walked over with her counselor smile. The one she used on troubled teenagers. We should get going, Mom. Rick has appointments. Rick's appointments could wait, I thought. Childhood couldn't. We can walk you to your car, Rick offered. His voice smooth as insurance claims. No need, I replied. I know the way to my own car. Mom, Kate tried again. This living alone arrangement isn't sustainable. Sustainable. A word from her school training. Everything had to be measured and managed. Even love. Support is a railing you choose to hold, I told her. Not hands pushing from behind. Emily looked up at me with eyes that understood more than adults gave her credit for. Our turbine project won second place at districts, she said quickly. Tell me about it, I said. The simplest design spun the fastest, Emily continued. No extra parts to break. No complicated gears. Smart engineering, I agreed. Looking straight at Kate when I said it. Kate's face flushed pink as autumn apples. She understood the message. Complicated systems fail. Simple truth endures. We walked toward the parking lot in careful formation. Emily and Jacob beside me. Kate and Rick trailing like worried shadows. At my car, I hugged both children hard enough to last 2 weeks. Emily whispered something in my ear. Meet me at the library Thursday after school. I nodded once. Quick as a nurse taking orders. Kate buckled the children into her minivan. Rick stood by my driver's door like a parking attendant. Helpful. Unnecessary. Annoying. Drive safe, he said. As if I hadn't been driving longer than he'd been alive. Always do, I replied. Been driving since before you were born. He stepped back. Point taken. That evening I called David from my kitchen phone. The old landline that nobody monitored. Park visit went well, I reported. Kids are healthy. Kate is managing. Managing you or managing them, he asked. Both, I said. But children see through management better than adults do. Thursday afternoon I drove to the public library. Brick building that smelled like old paper and new possibilities. Emily waited at the reference desk. Backpack heavy with textbooks and secrets. We found a corner table behind the biography section. Emily pulled out her phone. Showed me pictures from the science fair. Her cardboard turbine spinning proud and simple. Mom doesn't know I'm here, she admitted. She thinks I'm at study group. Sometimes we have to choose our own study groups, I said. Emily nodded like someone older than 14. Nana, she said, are you really sick? Kate had been telling stories. Preparing the children for my inevitable decline. Planting seeds of doubt about my competence. I'm 70 years old, I told Emily. My body creaks like old wood. But my mind works fine. That's what I thought, Emily said. You still help me with math homework better than anyone. Math doesn't lie, I agreed. Neither do grandmothers. We spent an hour at that library table. Emily showed me her English essays. I helped her with geometry proofs. Normal grandmother things. Illegal now according to Kate's rules. Mom says you're confused about money, Emily said carefully. Your mother is confused about many things, I replied. Money isn't one of them for me. Emily bit her lip, the way she did when wrestling with big ideas. Can I ask you something? Always. If someone tries to take your house, what happens to Sunday dinners? Sunday dinners would disappear, I said. Along with Christmas mornings and birthday cakes. Emily's eyes got bright and fierce. That's not fair. Fair and legal aren't always the same thing, I told her. But sometimes we can make them match. I drove home through neighborhoods where other grandmothers lived behind visiting schedules. Their time with grandchildren measured out like prescription medicine. Enough to maintain the relationship. Not enough to threaten control. At home I made tea and sat in my husband's chair. The cushion still held his shape. Still whispered comfort to my tired bones. My phone rang at 8 o'clock. Emily's number. Nana, she said, I talked to Jacob. We want to help. You help by being yourselves, I told her. By remembering Sunday dinners matter. We won't let them take your house, Emily said. Her voice fierce as a small warrior. You can't stop grown-ups from making grown-up mistakes, I warned. But you can remember who tells the truth. That night I wrote in my yellow pad. Visited with E and J. Smart children see through complicated lies. Simple truth still works. I closed the notebook and touched its cover. Tomorrow would bring new battles. New attempts to manage my life into smaller and smaller boxes. But tonight I had sat with my granddaughter in a library. Helped with homework. Answered honest questions. Been a grandmother instead of a problem to solve. Some victories fit in phone calls and library visits. Small victories. Simple victories. The kind that last. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The phone grew quiet after Greenway Park. Like a heart monitor when someone disconnects the leads. No Tuesday soup deliveries. No helpful visits from Rick. No concerned check-ins from Kate. Silence became my new roommate. David called on Wednesday to review trust documents. Sarah called Thursday about account security. Dr. Grant sent a follow-up letter confirming my mental capacity. Professional voices in a personal wasteland. I joined a Tuesday circle at the neighborhood library. Met in the community room that smelled like carpet cleaner and old coffee. Widows, uncles, aunties, people who had learned hard lessons about family love. Mabel spoke first, 73 and sharp as her sewing scissors. My son changed doctors without telling me, she said. New doctor wanted to prescribe memory medicine. For memory problems I don't have. Frank nodded from his corner chair. 81 with hands that still knew how to fix things. Home warranty company charged me $300, he said. To tell me my working furnace was broken. Teresa raised her hand like a student with the right answer. She was 68 and tired of being managed. My daughter reorganized my kitchen, she said. Put the coffee cups where I can't reach them. For my safety. Safety. The magic word that justified everything. We traded stories over weak coffee and strong understanding. Prescription bottles that wandered. Bank statements that disappeared. Important mail that got misplaced. Small thefts disguised as helpfulness. I told them about my thermostat. My pills. My smart switches that made me feel stupid. They nodded like nurses hearing familiar symptoms. Recognition without surprise. Solidarity without pity. We shared strategies too. Mabel had found a new doctor. One who listened before prescribing. Frank cancelled the warranty scam and fixed his own furnace. Teresa bought a step stool and reclaimed her coffee cups. Simple solutions to complicated manipulations. I went home and labeled a filing drawer. Deed, trust, bank records, kids' drawings, everything important in one place. Everything visible and organized. I hung Jacob's night drawing on the kitchen corkboard. Added Emily's science fair ribbon beside it. Bright spots in a house that had grown too quiet. The thermostat obeyed my commands now. Set to 70. Stayed at 70. No midnight adjustments by remote control. The porch light switched on and off when I wanted light or darkness. Simple cause and effect. The way things should work. My pill organizer stayed organized the way I left it. Monday through Sunday in perfect order. No wandering tablets. No helpful rearrangements. Some nights I ate soup and toast in my kitchen. Other nights I ate defiance and slept well. The house breathed around me like a lung that had remembered how to expand. I watched old movies where ordinary courage didn't require theme music. Where widows solved problems without special effects. Where right looked boring but felt strong. The mailbox brought bills and catalogs and credit card offers. Normal mail for a normal life. No more legal documents. No more family platform invitations. No more helpful management suggestions. Emily texted pictures of homework assignments. Math problems she solved alone. English essays she wrote without help. Growing up in the spaces where I used to stand. Jacob sent drawings of castles with higher walls. Knights with bigger swords. Dragons that breathed blue fire instead of red. His imagination growing fiercer in my absence. I saved every text. Every picture. Evidence of love that survived family politics. The Tuesday Circle became my new church. Confession without absolution. Testimony without preaching. Just truth told in a circle of folding chairs. Week 3, Mabel brought news. Her son had backed down about the memory doctor. Too much paperwork, he claimed. Too much hassle. Victory disguised as inconvenience. Frank reported his furnace was running perfectly. Warranty company stopped calling after he threatened legal action. Sometimes lawyers were cheaper than repairs. Teresa showed us a red pen. She used it to circle lies on bank statements. Left them on her refrigerator where her daughter couldn't miss them. Truth displayed like children's artwork. I brought my yellow pad to show them. Blue ink tracking daily victories. Thermostat set to 70. Porch light controlled by me. Pills organized by my own hands. Small wins. Simple wins. The kind that accumulate like interest. We planned practical resistance. Phone trees for emergencies. Document sharing for legal advice. Coffee meetings for emotional maintenance. Infrastructure disguised as friendship. At home I cooked meals I actually wanted to eat. Breakfast at dinner time. Ice cream before vegetables. Rebellion served on my own dishes. I read books Kate would have called inappropriate. Mystery novels with violence. Romance novels with passion. Books where older women solved problems and lived fully. My library card got a workout. The house settled into its own rhythms again. Wood expanding in afternoon sun. Pipes humming their familiar songs. Sounds I had learned to translate after 37 years of marriage. My husband used to say houses remember everything. Every argument and apology. Every birthday and funeral. Every ordinary Tuesday that felt like forever. Now the house remembered my choices. My thermostat settings. My light switches. My pill organizer arranged exactly how I wanted it. Memory made visible in daily habits. Sunday evening Emily called from her bedroom. Whispered conversation like a secret medicine. She had talked to her school counselor about family problems. Got information about student rights and family law. Smart girl. Learning to research her own problems. Jacob got on the phone to describe his latest dragon drawing. This one breathed rainbow fire and protected a grandmother's castle. Art as wishful thinking. I told them both I loved them. Simple words carrying complicated weight. Love that survived visiting restrictions and family management. After they hung up, I made tea in my good china cup. The one with small roses painted around the rim. Celebration tea for an ordinary evening. I had survived another week of chosen solitude. Another week of decisions made by me alone. Another week of life lived according to my own schedule. The victory tasted like Earl Grey with honey. Quiet but satisfying. I opened my yellow pad to a fresh page. Wrote the date in blue ink. Wrote week 3 of independence. House still mine. Heart still beating. Thermostat still set to 70. Small facts. Large truths. The house hummed around me like a lullaby. Like a promise kept to itself. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. New attempts to manage my life into smaller boxes. New reasons to doubt my own competence. But tonight I sat in my husband's chair with good tea and my own thoughts. Tonight I chose my bedtime and my thermostat setting. Tonight I decided which lights to leave on. Tonight was enough. The kind of enough that lasts. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. 6 months passed like slow healing. Spring arrived with its usual promises. Daffodils pushed through winter soil. Trees remembered how to make leaves. The world turned green again without asking permission. My mailbox brought the usual mail. Bills. Catalogs. Credit card offers addressed to my dead husband. Normal mail for a normal life. Then came the cream envelope. Thursday afternoon. I was watering the African violets on my kitchen windowsill. Purple flowers that bloomed despite everything. The mail truck rattled past like it did every day at 3:15. I walked to the mailbox in my house slippers. Old woman habits that felt like freedom now. No one to tell me proper shoes were required. The cream envelope sat on top of the electric bill. My name written in Kate's careful script. The penmanship she learned in 3rd grade. Still perfect after 40 years. No return address. Just my daughter's handwriting pointing at my heart. I carried it inside like a prescription that might heal or poison. Set it on the kitchen table next to my coffee cup. Stared at it for 10 minutes. Letters from estranged daughters carry weight. Heavy as stones. Light as hope. Dangerous as both. I slit it with the paring knife I had owned since nursing school. Sharp blade that had opened thousands of envelopes. Bills and love letters and legal documents. This one felt different. The paper inside was cream to match the envelope. Quality stationery that cost more than my grocery budget. Kate's handwriting in blue ink. Careful words in careful lines. Mom, it began. Simple word carrying complicated weight. I read standing at my kitchen counter. Afternoon light making paper honest. Making words true. Dr. Hargrove says control is fear in a costume. I didn't notice mine had buttons. Dr. Hargrove. A therapist Kate had never mentioned. Someone helping my daughter understand what I already knew. Fear makes people grab. Love learns to let go. I kept reading. Each word a small surgery on old wounds. No excuses, she wrote. No bargaining. Just lines that looked like someone taking off a heavy coat. I told myself platform meant protection. It meant power. I labeled you like a linen closet and forgot you were a person with your own shelves. Linen closets. Kate had always been good with metaphors. English teacher skills applied to family damage. Making sense of senseless things. The letter filled both sides of expensive paper. Apology without conditions. Recognition without requests. Truth without manipulation. I'm not asking you to forgive me yet, she wrote near the end. I'm asking you to know I finally see what I couldn't see before. Finally. A word that meant time had passed. Change had happened. Understanding had arrived late but arrived. At the bottom, 2 additions. Emily's slanted handwriting in purple ink. We made it to regionals, she wrote. The small turbine won again. Simple designs still worked best. Jacob had drawn a speech bubble coming from a cartoon dragon. Inside his careful block letters. Hi Nana. The dragon wore a knight's helmet and smiled with crayon teeth. I read the letter twice. Then again. Words that had taken my daughter months to write. I absorbed in minutes. Truth moved faster than lies. Simpler to process. Easier to believe. I set it on the windowsill where afternoon light could shine through it. Paper made transparent by sunlight. Words made visible by time. The African violets bloomed beside it. Purple petals soft as forgiveness. Hardy as hope. I made tea and sat at my kitchen table. The letter visible from my chair. Close enough to reread. Far enough away to think about. Kate had been in therapy. Learning words like boundaries and autonomy. Understanding concepts she had ignored for 42 years. Growing up at middle age. Better late than never, though never would have been simpler. I pulled out my good stationery. The set my husband gave me for our 30th anniversary. White paper with my name printed at the top. Margaret Thompson in elegant script. I had saved it for important letters. This qualified. I wrote 2 lines in blue ink. Careful words for careful healing. Thank you for the letter. I'm not ready, but I'm listening. -M. Not ready for forgiveness. Not ready for Sunday dinners. Not ready for platform discussions or family meetings or helpful suggestions. But ready to listen. Ready to see if change was real or just better packaging. I sealed my reply in a white envelope. Wrote Kate's address in my clearest handwriting. Added a stamp with a flag on it. America the Beautiful. America the Complicated. At the post office, I handed it to the clerk like medicine to a patient. Careful dosing of hope and caution. Truth measured in teaspoons instead of tablespoons. The clerk smiled and stamped it. Mail going both directions now. Conversation instead of silence. Progress disguised as postage. I drove home through neighborhoods where other estranged families lived behind their own careful distances. Mothers and daughters learning new dance steps. Forgiveness choreographed 1 letter at a time. At home I labeled a new file folder. Correspondence. Empty for now but ready. A container waiting for what might belong. The cream letter stayed on my windowsill. Visible reminder of possibility. Evidence that people could change if they worked hard enough. Emily texted a photo that evening. The regional science fair ribbon. Gold instead of silver this time. Simple turbine design taking first place. Proud of you, I texted back. Simple words for simple victories. Jacob sent a new drawing. The dragon had learned to fly. Castle towers reached higher into crayon skies. Knights protected grandmothers from invisible enemies. Art as hope. Imagination as medicine. I made dinner and ate it slowly. Savoring food and solitude both. The house quiet around me like a held breath. waiting to see what came next. The letter glowed on my windowsill in evening light. White paper holding careful words. Apology without conditions. Understanding without manipulation. Maybe forgiveness would come later. Maybe trust could rebuild over time. Maybe family could learn new rules and better boundaries. Maybe was enough for now. I opened my yellow pad to a fresh page. Wrote the date in blue ink. Wrote letter from Kate. Apology received. Door cracked open instead of slammed shut. Progress measured in inches instead of miles. Healing calculated in letters instead of visits. The phone stayed quiet that evening. No calls demanding responses. No pressure to decide quickly. Just space to think and time to process. Luxury I hadn't expected. Gift I hadn't requested. I went to bed at my own chosen time. Set the thermostat to my preferred temperature. Turned off lights I controlled completely. Small freedoms that felt enormous after 6 months of practice. The letter waited on my windowsill like morning coffee. There when I woke up. Ready when I needed it. Patient as the violets blooming beside it. Tomorrow might bring more letters. More careful words seeking careful responses. More family attempting to rebuild what control had broken. Or tomorrow might bring silence. Space to continue healing at my own pace. Either way, I would decide my own response. Write my own words. Choose my own timing. The way it should be. The way it would be. The letter proved that much was possible. Change. Growth. Understanding. Even apologies could bloom if given enough time and light. Like violets on a kitchen windowsill. Like hope in an old woman's heart. Purple and persistent. Beautiful and strong. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Spring became summer while I learned to trust my own judgment again. The violets on my windowsill bloomed twice. Kate's letter stayed beside them like a bookmark in an unfinished story. I met David at our usual cafe one last time. He brought final papers to review. Trust documents signed and filed. Bank protections locked in place. Legal guardrails strong as courthouse granite. Your boundaries are solid now, he told me. His coffee cup empty between us. Documents stacked neat as pharmacy pill counts. What about family boundaries? I asked. Those don't come with legal backing. Family boundaries work on honor system, he replied. Either people respect them or they don't. Honor. Rare commodity in my recent experience. Expensive as good chocolate. Just as necessary. At the bank Sarah smiled her rare smile. The one reserved for battles won and accounts secured. She had added permanent flags to my records. Red alerts for unusual activity. Recording devices for questionable conversations. We'll keep the warnings active, she told me. Even when you forget to worry about them. I wouldn't forget. Forgetting had cost me 6 months of family peace. Memory served me better than trust these days. I walked home past yards where lilacs had finished their purple riot. Summer flowers taking their turn now. Roses and daisies and black-eyed Susans. Color without drama. Beauty without demands. My mailbox held the usual collection. Bills and catalogs and one hand-addressed envelope. Emily's handwriting this time. Purple ink on white paper. I opened it standing beside my own lilac bush. Flowers spent now but leaves still green. Still growing despite the finished blooms. Inside, photos from Emily's graduation. Middle school diploma in her hands. Smile wide as summer sky. She had written on the back, "Thanks for helping with math homework." Even when it wasn't allowed. Gratitude disguised as rebellion. Love expressed as rule-breaking. Jacob had included a drawing. A castle with a grandmother figure on the front porch. Dragon circling overhead like a protective guardian. Both figures smiling crayon smiles. Art as wish fulfillment. Hope drawn in primary colors. I taped both items to my refrigerator. Gallery wall of grandchildren's achievements. Museum of love that survived family politics. That evening Emily called from her new high school. Freshman orientation had gone well. She was taking advanced science classes. Planning to study engineering in college. Building things that work, she explained. Simple machines that solve real problems. Best kind of engineering, I agreed. Solutions over complications. Jacob got on the phone to describe summer camp. He was learning archery and pottery. Making bowls and shooting arrows. Creating things and hitting targets. Skills for independence. Lessons in self-reliance. After they hung up, I made tea in my good china cup. Celebration tea for ordinary evening victories. Children growing up strong despite family dysfunction. Grandchildren learning to thrive without constant management. The phone rang again at 8:30. Kate's number on the display. I let it ring twice before answering. Choosing my own timing even for small conversations. "Mom," she said, her voice careful as someone walking on new ice. "I wanted to check if you got my letter." "I got it," I replied. "Read it several times." Silence stretched between us like a bridge under construction. Spans of possibility over deep water. "I'm in therapy twice a week now," Kate continued. "Learning about boundaries and control issues. Understanding how fear makes people grab onto things." "Good," I said. "Learning is always good. Dr. Hargrove thinks I should ask what you need from me. Instead of assuming I know what's best for you." Revolutionary concept. Asking instead of assuming. Listening instead of managing. "I need time," I told her. "And space to make my own mistakes. And recognition that I'm still competent to run my own life." Kate's breathing sounded different. Less controlled. More human. "I can do that," she said. The words coming slowly like someone learning a new language. "We'll see," I replied. Actions matter more than promises. After we hung up, I sat in my husband's chair with my tea. The cushion still held his shape after all these months. Still offered comfort to my tired bones. The house breathed around me like a lung that had remembered proper rhythm. Sounds I recognized after 37 years. Wood settling. Pipes humming. Foundation holding steady. My foundation. My sounds. My rhythm. I opened my yellow pad to a fresh page. Blue ink on yellow paper. The colors of truth-telling. Today phone call with Kate. No demands. No management suggestions. Actual listening attempted. Progress measured in phone calls instead of visits. Healing calculated in conversations instead of confrontations. The correspondence file was getting thicker. Kate's letter. Emily's photos. Jacob's drawings. Evidence of family learning new steps in an old dance. Some relationships could be rebuilt. Others needed to be redesigned from scratch. Time would tell which category mine belonged in. For now, I had my Tuesday circle at the library. My quiet house with obedient thermostats. My violets that bloomed without permission. My grandchildren who called when they could. Enough. More than enough. I made a list before bed. Things that belonged to me and nobody else. My schedule. My thermostat settings. My light switches. My pill organizer arranged exactly how I wanted it. My house. My rules. My choices. The list filled half a page. Daily freedoms that felt enormous after months of practice. Simple rights that had required legal protection. Basic dignity earned through courthouse battles. I folded the list and put it in my correspondence file. Reminder of what was worth defending. Evidence of what was worth the fight. Outside my bedroom window, streetlights made patterns on the ceiling. Light I could control with curtains if I chose. Darkness I could invite if I preferred. My choice. My light. My darkness. The way it should be. The way it would stay. I had learned to live alone without being lonely. To make decisions without second guessing. To trust my own judgment over other people's fears. 70 years old and still learning. Still growing. Still choosing my own path through whatever came next. Some lessons took a lifetime to master. Self-respect. Boundaries. The difference between support and control. I was a slow learner but a thorough one. Graduate degree in independence earned the hard way. Kate's letter stayed on my windowsill beside the blooming violets. Both requiring careful attention. Both capable of beauty given proper conditions. Time would tell if apologies could bloom into trust. If understanding could grow into respect. If family could learn to love without managing. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, I would decide my own response. Set my own terms. Choose my own level of involvement. The house settled around me like a promise kept to itself. My house. My promise. My terms. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. New opportunities for growth or setback. New chances to practice what I had learned about boundaries. But tonight I slept in my own bed at my chosen bedtime. Thermostat set to my preferred temperature. Porch light switched according to my wishes. Simple freedoms. Expensive lessons. Worth every battle. Worth every lonely evening. Worth every difficult choice. My house. My rules. My life. The way it was meant to be. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. 1 year later, I still set my thermostat to 70. Still switch my porch light according to my own schedule. Still organize my pills exactly how I want them. Small victories that feel enormous. Daily freedoms that cost everything to keep. The Tuesday circle at the library grew from 6 people to 12. More widows. More uncles. More aunties learning to recognize wolves dressed as helpful relatives. We shared new stories every week. Mabel's grandson tried to sell her car for her safety. Frank's daughter scheduled him for assisted living without asking. Teresa's son changed her cable package to save money she hadn't asked him to save. The same song with different verses. Control disguised as care. Theft disguised as love. But we also shared victories. Legal documents that held firm. Bank accounts that stayed protected. Family members who learned to ask instead of assume. Progress came in small packages. Letters that asked permission. Phone calls that offered choices. Visits that respected boundaries. My correspondence file grew thicker. Kate wrote once a month now. Careful letters about therapy and understanding. Updates on her journey toward becoming someone I could trust again. No promises about Sunday dinners. No requests for house keys. Just information shared between adults who were learning to respect each other. Emily started high school with advanced placement classes. Her texts came weekly with photos of science projects. Wind turbines that generated real electricity. Solar panels that powered small motors. Simple machines that solved real problems. Engineering runs in our family, she wrote. Problem solving in our DNA. Jacob entered middle school with sketchbooks full of castles. His dragons had evolved too. Now they protected whole villages instead of single towers. Community guardians instead of lonely sentries. Art as growth. Imagination as evolution. Kate called on my birthday in October. 71 years old and still learning new lessons. Still choosing my own path through whatever came next. "I wanted to ask if you'd like to have lunch sometime," she said. Her voice careful as someone handling fragile things. "Somewhere neutral. Your choice of place and time. Lunch. Not dinner with complicated family dynamics. Not Sunday gathering with historical baggage. Just lunch between two adults who shared DNA and careful hope." "I'll think about it," I told her. "Let you know next week." Thinking time. Decision space. The luxury of choosing my own timeline. After she hung up, I made tea and sat in my husband's chair. The cushions had finally molded to my shape instead of his. Progress measured in furniture adaptation. The house hummed its familiar evening songs. Furnace cycling on schedule. Water heater maintaining temperature. Refrigerator keeping food cold exactly as programmed. Systems that worked because nobody interfered with their basic functions. Machines that ran smoothly when allowed to operate as designed. Like people. Like families. Like relationships that respected boundaries. I opened my yellow pad to a fresh page. Blue ink on yellow paper. The colors of truth-telling and daily documentation. Kate called about lunch. Neutral location. My choice of timing. Real question instead of masked demand. Progress worth noting. Change worth considering. But considering wasn't agreeing. Thinking wasn't committing. Time remained my ally in all family negotiations. The violets on my windowsill bloomed for the 4th time this year. Hardy plants that didn't require perfect conditions. Just adequate light and regular water. Simple needs met with consistent care. Like trust. Like forgiveness. Like relationships rebuilt from broken foundations. Possible but not guaranteed. Requiring patience and realistic expectations. Emily texted that evening with news about her college applications. Early admission to engineering programs. Scholarships for students who wanted to build things that helped people. Following your example, she wrote. Solving problems instead of creating them. My example. As if surviving family dysfunction qualified as leadership training. Maybe it did. Maybe showing children how to defend themselves was the best gift grandmothers could give. How to recognize manipulation. How to trust their own judgment. How to fight for what belonged to them. Life skills disguised as family drama. Education earned through courthouse battles. Jacob sent a drawing of his latest castle design. Multiple towers connected by covered bridges. Gardens inside protective walls. Space for whole families to live safely together. Architecture as aspiration. Floor plans for better relationships. Smart boy. Learning that protection and connection weren't mutually exclusive. That families could live close without living on top of each other. Boundaries drawn in crayon and hope. I taped his drawing to my refrigerator gallery. Museum of Grandchildren's Wisdom. Art collection that reminded me why battles were worth fighting. The correspondence file held 37 letters now. Kate's careful apologies. Emily's achievement photos. Jacob's evolutionary dragons. Evidence of family learning to grow in new directions. Some stories ended with dramatic reconciliations. Tears and hugs and promises of perfect tomorrows. Hollywood solutions to complicated problems. My story was quieter, more realistic, built on small changes and careful respect. Foundation poured slowly but designed to last. Kate and I might have lunch next month. Or next year. Or never. Time would tell if her therapy translated into lasting behavior change. If understanding turned into consistent action. Meanwhile, I had my Tuesday circle and my violet windowsill garden. My quiet house and my controlled thermostat. My yellow pad documenting daily victories. My life. My rules. My schedule. The doorbell rang at 8 o'clock. Unusual time for visitors. I checked the peephole before opening. Emily stood on my porch holding a wrapped package. No parents in sight. Just my granddaughter with something important to share. I drove myself, she said when I opened the door. Got my learner's permit last month. Mom said I could visit if you wanted company. Mom said. Kate had asked instead of assumed. Requested instead of demanded. Offered choice instead of management. Real progress disguised as normal parenting. Come in, I told Emily. I just made tea. We sat at my kitchen table with china cups and homemade cookies. Emily unwrapped her package carefully. Inside, a small wind turbine made of metal instead of cardboard. Professional construction with working parts. I built this in shop class, she said. It generates enough electricity to charge a phone. Simple design but industrial grade. Strong enough to last, I observed. Built to work instead of just look pretty. Exactly, Emily said. Like families that actually function instead of just appearing functional. Wise words from a 15-year-old. Truth spoken without filters or fear. We talked for 2 hours. School and science and family dynamics. Emily asked direct questions about the courthouse battles. About standing up to parents who meant well but acted badly. I answered honestly. Shared lessons learned through legal documents and lonely evenings. Taught boundary setting through kitchen table conversations. Grandmother wisdom passed down through survival stories. Education disguised as family history. Emily left at 10 o'clock. Driving herself home through neighborhoods where other families negotiated their own complicated relationships. Learning to balance love and independence on streets I had traveled for decades. I watched her taillights disappear around the corner. Young woman becoming herself despite family drama. Growing strong because of battles fought and boundaries defended. Worth everything. Every lonely evening. Every difficult choice. Every courtroom victory. I turned off my porch light and set my thermostat to 70. Simple actions that felt like triumph after everything it had cost to keep them mine. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. New opportunities for growth or setback. New chances to practice what I had learned about self-respect and family love. But tonight I had shared tea with my granddaughter in my own kitchen. Passed down wisdom earned through warfare. Invested in the next generation's ability to protect themselves. My house. My rules. My legacy. The way it was always meant to be.